What is up, guys? It's Mega Man Chief Fan here, back with another comic book review. Now, unlike the other two reviews that I did, which were very, very positive reviews, this is going to be a rather negative one, because today I'm going to be reviewing Transmetropolitan. Now, if you've seen my graphic novel collection video, I mentioned when I was showing off this first volume that I hated this book. I really, really did not like this book at all. So, I felt like, you know what? I shouldn't just say it's bad and just leave it as that. I should go in depth on why I think this is a bad book. So, that's what I'm here to do today. So, without further ado, you know what's coming up next. It's premise time! Now, our story begins in the middle of a mountain, where a man or former journalist named Spider Jerusalem is about to go back to the city for where he once lived. But before he goes back to the city, he blows up the bar where was the only place he had human interaction for the last 5 years? Okay, I'll allow it for now, I guess. But when he goes back to the city, he demands his job back by pulling out a gun and pointing it at his old boss's head. And he gets it? I seriously don't know how he got it. The words that he said were not that convincing. I'm just gonna say that right now. Now, he goes back to his old apartment, and it's still in pretty good shape. Everything is kind of messed up, but it could easily be repaired in a matter of hours. Because that's what happens when you go out for 5 years. Maybe. I don't know. And this is the only part of the book I can understand, because this is like him getting back on track, and him going back from near insanity being in the mountains. But it all goes downhill. It completely topples on itself when Spider goes into a shower and all of his hair just disappears. Every single strand of hair on his body disappears. And all that's left is a bald man with a lot of tattoos. I mean, seriously, he has a lot of tattoos. It's just him, and the rest of the story is just him trying to regain back his reputation by doing great stories in the paper or publication he once worked for. Now, I will be honest, that's a pretty cool concept, and while we're into that, let's talk about the positives of the book first, because, to be honest, there are a little bit of positives and merits that this book has. One of the merits is, like I said, the concept of the book. Now, the concept of the book is pretty good, and from Warren Ellis, I really like Warren Ellis as a writer, despite my dislike for this book. He can make really cool premises, especially with indie comics, so I was really excited to read this book. And the major thing, however, that makes this book not terrible is Spider. To be honest, he is a pretty cool character. He just has this dark twist to him. You think all the journalist character type has been done to death, especially in comics, like Mind MGMT, which is another comic I should really review, but this character is very different, especially the way he looks. Look at that! This is insane looking. And he does have a very interesting backstory to him, and some of the events that do happen to him are pretty unique. But sadly, that's where the positives end. The concept and the main character are pretty cool, and some of the things that happen in the book can be pretty interesting. But there are 4 major issues that absolutely killed the book for me. And that is pretty much what the rest of the video is going to be. Number 1, the story. Besides like a few exceptions of what happens to Spider, the story's a complete mess. This first volume is pretty much a story about, like, alien abductions for humans, and the commentary that they... You know how I said the commentary for, The Wicked Plus the Divine, like, how, like, the social commentary with, like, pop idols was really well done in that book? This is the exact opposite. The commentary in this book is as subtle as a brick to the face. Seriously. It's not good commentary. It is just phoned in. It is just handled really poorly, and I really was disappointed with this. Because it could have been very, very well done commentary. And an alien abduction? Seriously, that's a really cool concept that you can work with, but they just chose the cheesy route, and it just falls flat. It really does. The second problem I have with the series, it's unnecessarily vulgar. Now, I can definitely take violence and harsh language in a series. In fact, some of my favorite comics are absolutely filled with it. But this is just pushing it way too far. They try to drop an F-bomb every single page, and sometimes panel after panel after panel. It's just constant swearing and sexual innuendos and references. It's really not that clever, and it just makes the book look childish in retrospect. It just seems more childish more than anything. It just seems like a children's show for adults. The way a children's show acts, but in a very adult manner. And that's not really a good thing at all. The third thing is it's heavily pretentious, and it's completely full of itself. Much like the commentary, it tries so hard to be something it isn't. Like, it tries so hard to be a very dark mystery about the main character trying to regain his reputation, while really, it's just a man just beating on poor people, trying to get a story and revive his life. And really, that's not that interesting. In fact, that's horrible. Once you think about it, the stuff that Spider does is kind of horrible. But luckily, Spider somehow is kind of likable in a twisted manner, but that does not mean the messages that this series gives off is not pretentious and just trying to be way too special. And the fourth and final reason why I hate this book, and probably the worst one of them all, even more than the story, it has so much wasted potential. This could easily have been one of my favorite comics of all time if it was handled well. It could have been a masterpiece even. Seriously. Even with the cover of the main character smoking a cigarette, that could not pull me away from the book if it was good. Now, we're not judging by the book by the cover, we're judging it by the insides. Like, they had the opportunity to give really good commentary in this book, and I know I keep drawing back to the commentary, but pretty much the commentary also just completely topples in on itself. And it's just so sad because this could have been easily such a great look at how if aliens could have been just like humans, but they could have been just as nice or just as mean as humans. And that could have been fantastic. It could have been incredible. I don't care if I overuse that word in my channel. This could have been great. Spider's already a good character, so you have a lot of material to work off with that. But it just really isn't. It just really isn't that good of a book. I keep saying it's not that good of a book, but I really do want to give legitimate reasons for why I hated it. But I think I did, and I think I can just go with the score now. Now, For my first negative review, this is not the most horrible thing I've ever read in my life. There are countless other comics that I think are infinitely worse than this. But that does not save Transmetropolitan, for me, getting a 3 out of 10 and recommending to just stay away from it. It's not terrible, but it's not worth reading either. Warren Ellis, if you want something good by Warren Ellis, read his Moon Knight run. Or if you want a good Warren Ellis indie comic, read his new series, Trees. The first trade is out and it's pretty cheap. Because this was just heavily disappointing. So that was my review, guys. I want to know what you guys thought of Transmetropolitan. Do you love it? Do you just think it's okay? Do you hate it? Do you think it's an abomination against humanity? Tell me in the comments below, and I may respond to them. So anyway, I'm not going to ramble anymore. I'm Mega Man Chief Fan, and I'll see you later, guys.